Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, James Falconer, who has been immersed in the publishing industry for 20 years and brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the SellerRocket team. Listeners will benefit from his perspective on evolution of e-com from a publisher's perspective. Small, medium, and large size Amazon sellers will gain insight on how to best work with publishers to drive sales and maximize ROI. Welcome to the podcast, James.
Thank you for having me, Arlen. It's good to be
Yes, no problem. And thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. You know, we're going to be really focusing on, specifically with e-commerce businesses, of course, PR, as well as, really what are some of, you've kind of created your own little niche with regards to PR and e-commerce businesses, and, some of the advantages to doing some of these things, in-house with regards to dealing with, publishing on various marketplaces, doing advertising. And, that's kind of your name of the game. And so we're going to be digging deep into that. But before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and, specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Sure. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I've been in publishing since 2000. So
Okay.
I've been at this for over 20 years.
Wow.
I've done a lot of different things, right? Like I've been in the SEO business. Then in early 2000s, joined up with some friends, and we started a site called crackberry.com, which was a ton of fun.
Okay.
So we founded that site in 2006, and all of us, we were all doing the writing, the programming, we set up our own store. This was like early days, right, of e-com too, and we set up our own warehouse in Florida, and we had products going out because the site was all about the BlackBerry phones and the platform and everything. So we were selling cases and screen protectors and all that stuff. Gotcha. So anyways, we did all of that. We actually turned it into a nice tech network. We covered everything, BlackBerry, Android, iPhone, iPad, Windows, you name it. We had this wonderful little network that we called Mobile Nations. Okay. And in 2019, it sold to Future, and Future is just a massive publisher. So they run sites like Tech Radar and Tom's Guide, and the list goes on. They're getting into all different verticals too. So I stuck around with them for a couple of years, but I decided, early this year, I really wanted to get back to, working with smaller, scrappier companies, just kind of getting back to my roots again, which is what I did. So I definitely miss the people at Future. They're awesome. I had a great time, but it's also a lot of fun to be working with the SellerRocket team here because what they're doing is something special. Okay,
that's awesome. And so it definitely sounds like you got your feet wet. It's good that you had selling the Future. You got a good exit. That's always good to hear because that's not always the case. Especially something that you've created and you've kind of birthed to be able to, have someone kind of take what you've done and then kind of go from there and take it to higher levels. So that's definitely always good to hear. Now, where I want to kind of begin is, somewhere we hadn't really talked about a lot on the podcast. We've had people as far as promoting e-commerce brands. I've had guests on that have talked about link exchanging, link swapping. We've talked about, general organic SEO, of course, affiliate marketing, referral marketing, influencer marketing, which is really my bread and butter, and then just your traditional, PR. But what you're going to, I think, come into play is if you don't mind enlightening us on some alternative promotional options specifically for e-commerce sellers that would be alternative to some of those more traditional routes of marketing and advertising.
Yeah. I mean, with SellerRocket, we call ourselves really e-com PR. So
Sure.
What we're doing is we're advocating for brands and products within the marketplaces where people are, doing their research, going through their journey of finding the products they're interested in and digging down to the ones that they want to find and buy. So what we do is we advocate for those products in those marketplaces, and Amazon, of course, is like the biggest one. Right. So what we do for our clients is, advocate for those products, get editorial recommendations, which you may see for searches you do in Amazon. Those recommendations show up right away on the page, and articles as well. So it's like traditional PR in that, we're getting the word out, but it's really all about performance, right? Because we're putting that, we're helping leverage that content and that authoritative voice within the marketplace where people are shopping. So it's kind of a next level solution.
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've recently seen more and more of those editorial recommendations on Amazon. And yeah, I've always wondered about it. I don't know how new is that? Because I've seen it more and more now. Is this a new feature of Amazon, or when did it actually come out?
It's been around for a couple of years now.
Okay.
It's an invite only, on the publisher side where I come from, it's an invite only program where, they're only inviting the best publishers to participate. And then as a publisher, you can publish whatever you want on your own site, but now you also have access to publish within the Amazon, ecosystem as well. So, a lot of publishers will have their own, editorial calendars, of course, the best ones do. And whatever it is they want to lend their opinion to, they can go ahead, they can write articles, publish it within Amazon, and they can go ahead and write, specific product recommendations within Amazon too. So it's really great.
Okay, that's interesting. And so when you say publisher, you're talking about people that have authoritative blogs, and they're putting out content on a consistent basis about a particular subject. So let's say, for instance, I think I may have recently saw some editorial recommendations on a type of on some headphones, actually. And so what you're saying is that since it's invite only, it's not like you can't just throw a blog up and just approach Amazon and say, hey, I want to get in the, your editorial recommendations. They reach out to you. That's basically it.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
if you were a publisher, you were running I come from the consumer tech world. So let's say you had a really big, tech focused site and it was all about headphones. You can't just turn around and publish it in Amazon. You would have to get that invite to kind of get in the door, log into their system, and then you would be, submitting content that then gets reviewed on Amazon's side and approved. And once it's approved, then it starts showing up. And then even after that, Amazon's always watching, and obviously they're gonna, promote the pieces that are converting the best. It's all about conversion to sales. So even once that content is published, it's still being, watched, and only the best stuff survives.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, very interesting. That whole process and the fact that it's, invite only. And so, yeah, that's definitely good to know. So if you're a regular e-commerce brand, you can't just approach them and just get listed there. You really have to form a relationship with maybe companies like yours, or just companies that, or just direct blogs that you have a relationship where maybe they're putting out content and they're referencing your brand and that type of thing. And, of course, I guess you could approach these content publishers that already have this kind of I guess you could say, with Amazon. And then that's kind of your foot in the door already. Now, once you got to get in the door, because I guess your company's in the door, a lot of other publishers are in the door with Amazon. Do they kind consistently call on you? How does it work? How do you get your pieces published across their platform?
Yeah, I mean it's real easy. Amazon provides the framework, I guess you could say, to
Okay.
publish, and it's really on the publisher. Yeah, they decide what they want to write about. They submit it to Amazon, and from then it's kind of out of their hands, right? It goes through a
Okay.
review process internally on the
Okay.
Amazon side. So it's up to the publisher what they want to write about. And even for us, as we're advocating for products, we're doing the advocation, right? We're not saying, hey, you publisher, you got to write about this. Like, no, we can't do that. So we put good products, good brands in front of them, because we're from the publisher perspective, we're saving them time in their research. We're providing them with really good recommendations that they can consider for the content that they're going to publish in Amazon and on their own sites too.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I would imagine they have a pretty kind of rigorous approval process of what you put out, because they're they're huge. And I think anything that gets published across Amazon, they want to make sure it is top notch. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, aside from Amazon that allows these editorial recommendations, are there any other marketplaces or other platforms that do something similar to this?
Yeah. I mean, it's becoming more and more common, right? Like, you're going to see all the big marketplaces really take hold of this over the next year or two. We believe, right? So you got all the big players: Amazon, Walmart. Think of places like Best Buy, Newegg, and others. This is going to kind of become the new normal as we go. So it's definitely an opportunity now to jump in while things are still evolving. And as I've seen, even in the mobile space, I think back in the day when we had iPhone, and then Android comes along, and Windows Phone, and all these different platforms. Eventually it kind of gets pared down to like 2 or 3 maybe key players, and I really think that the same thing is going to happen here, right? Like, Amazon's kind of hard to ignore, but there's probably going to be a few others that enter and stick around for the long haul too.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it makes sense. And yeah, like you said, this is really a good time to really get in it. If you're an e-commerce business, form relationships with these publishers, with these bloggers that kind of already have the end, because I would imagine it's a little bit easier to get the content out there now, but over time, over the next few years, it's going to be a lot more difficult as this picks up, and as we see more marketplaces participating in these types of things and offering these types of editorial content pieces. Outside of the e-commerce tech space, and I think I may have seen it. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I believe we're starting to even see this type of editorial content on some of the larger news portals. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe CNN's website, CNN.com, they do something similar. Is that correct? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. I mean, this kind of thing is going to be popping up all over the place. So all the big publishers with that big audience, I think you're going to start, seeing that on our side too. Of course, Amazon is a big focus, but we're also developing a lot of other products to take advantage of placements like that too. And the beauty of what we're doing is, just for everyone out there. Yes, I recommend you go ahead and do everything you're already doing. What we're doing is kind of additive to your marketing strategy, where we're really just leveraging all of our publisher relationships. So whether it's CNN or someone else that we may already have a relationship with, we've got that inside track already, where if they're launching that new product and they need content or they need recommendations, we're right there and we can get in front of them. So we're just getting that foot in the door. We have those relationships and we can really leverage them.
Okay, great. Now, with this whole e-com PR, we of course talked about these marketplaces, the editorial recommendations. How does this really work with the social media channels and getting content published that way? Is it just a matter of just doing the traditional publishing, or what's your experience with the different social channels?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the core, the Amazon editorials and the articles that we're able to procure for our clients, and get those placements for, that's really the heart of it. And that happens. We do encourage people though, if they want offsite placements, such as social and articles that live on publisher sites, to get in touch with us too, because obviously we have those relationships and we can help make that happen. Right. So there's not a one size fits all. We find there are some clients that, yes, they're 100% laser focused on Amazon, and we can definitely help them there. But maybe there's some, smaller or mid-sized businesses that they have their own D2C website. Maybe they don't want to pass all the traffic through to Amazon, or maybe they're just not interested in doing business with Amazon. Well, we can help there too. And we can help get placements on, you mentioned some big sites like CNN and others. We can help you with that too. So the more traditional PR thing too, definitely can help with that.
Okay. Gotcha. That's some good stuff. One of the things that I'm also thinking about with respect to these platforms, Amazon's, the editorial recommendations, how exactly does it, because like I said, I've recently come across more and more of these. How does it really work as far as being displayed, like with respect to their algorithm? How, because, this is apart from their other types of ads platforms that they have, and, paying for the sponsored listings and things like that. How does it work as far as when do they know to display it to a particular person? Is it like a fixed area? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't want to speak too much to the algorithm and the specifics. I would love to pull one of the the tech wizards on the team to talk about that more specifically, because I don't want to say anything wrong about how that is. But in general, these placements are appearing more and more, and Amazon has tested them versus other things in the past, and the recommendations keep coming back. So
I see.
Whether it's a high volume search or something maybe a little more niche, it doesn't really matter. I think you're going to start seeing those placements, those recommendations amplified more and more, because it's just providing that outside kind of layer of trust and validation for the shopper that this publication recommended this product. It's got to be good if they recommend it, and then they go ahead and they make their purchase.
I see. So it kind of sounds like they really have their own really internal algorithm as to when it's displaying. And since it's really kind of early on, I would imagine they're doing a lot of testing, a lot of A/B testing, figuring out the click-throughs that they're getting on this, how long are people actually staying at those recommendation points, and are they reading the full thing? So I imagine, there's a ton of metrics going on behind the scenes that they're analyzing to determine the proper placement, and how long are people watching it, and all of that. So that makes sense. So basically, it sounds like you guys, the publishers, and any publisher, you really don't have control over where it's displayed, how it's displayed, or anything like that.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, what we're doing is advocating for, just publishers to write about great products, and the owners of those products, that's what they want us to do. So where that shows up, there's a lot of factors, but what we can tell people is, over time, and we like to say, give us a good 4 to 6 weeks to properly ramp up. This isn't just a switch that we turn on and it works, but give us a little bit of time, to do the advocation, and they're going to start showing up, and it's going to have an effect on everything you're doing. It's just, there's a big halo effect in what we're doing here. Your brand is showing up in line, with results. It's going to help your PPC. It's going to help your internal rankings. And of course, that's very dynamic. Like you said, there's a lot of factors at play.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, some good stuff. As we get ready to wrap things up, if you can share maybe some specific examples of either businesses that you've worked with or that you're just familiar with in general that have, launched some, econ PR campaigns, whether it's through Amazon or through some of the other platforms, and what specifically did they do that really kind of stood out and that really gave them a good bang for their buck?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of different things. I don't want to speak to any specific brands, but if you go to SellerRocket.io, you'll see a lot of the partners that we're working with there. Sure. I mean, I think there's a healthy mix of affiliate, of publisher D2C platforms, of traditional PR. The bigger companies are utilizing all those things. They have reps at all those companies working on their behalf to get things done. And then on the small to mid-size brands, you see a lot more, guerrilla marketing where they're doing a lot of it themselves, just getting out there and doing it, making, getting in touch with the publishers, trying to get in their inbox and convince them to do that earned piece on the publication, wherever it may be. So I see a big mix of all those different things. And coming from the publisher side, I've been pitched for years on, hey, write about this or write about that. So I do, generally recommend for everyone listening, it's a healthy mix of all those things, doing it in a smart, methodical way. And then on our side, you can just add us into the mix because it's very low risk, low touch. We're working with over 2,000 brands now, and we're repping 50,000 products. We're doing a lot of really good stuff. And whether you want to get more awareness within Amazon, or you're looking for, placements, maybe ramp up the PR and placements outside of Amazon and publications, like just get in touch with us, and we'd love to help you out.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, one last thing that I wanted to ask that just kind of came up in my mind is that with these editorial recommendations, what type of credit or source information do they display for the publishers? Like, do they show who published this? Do they give you a link back, or what type of credit do the publishers get when they are getting posted?
Yeah. Everything shows up, under the publisher name.
I see.
Within Amazon, so it's all tracked back to the publisher, and then for the brands on our side, like we track everything as well, so that they would get a login to our dashboard where they can clearly see, okay, we started on this date, and then 4 weeks later we saw our first placement pop up, and then in our dashboard you'd be able to see, oh, that's where it is. You click the link, you can go see it. You can see the performance, you can see the revenue generated, all that stuff. So there's a really great dashboard where people can see exactly what it is, where the results are coming, what the results are, and the fee structure as well for it is like super straightforward too. Okay,
that sounds good. Yeah, definitely interesting stuff. And I can see, like I said earlier, this is definitely really kind of at the ground level of this, but I can see this really becoming, bigger and bigger, because I think where Amazon is coming from is they're seeing that consumers on their site are looking for more and more validation when it comes to making a decision to make the purchase. So for a long time, of course, it's all about the reviews, and the reviews are still a huge thing with products on Amazon. But I think these days, people are they're kind of a little waning, I think you can say, about on the reviews, because, for the most part, I think there's still a lack of trust in some of those reviews and who's posting them, even though, Amazon does a great job of making sure they're legit and, they go through a lot of trouble. I think people are still like, can I trust these? Do they really have that many 5-star reviews or whatever? And, so I think that's where these editorial recommendations come through, because you're getting a third party to, speak to that particular product and that brand. And it's giving you another level of validation. So I think that's where we're at now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you nailed it, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the last year, probably longer, and this just provides that, like you said, that extra layer of trust from trusted publications. And the publishers love this because we're saving them time, resources from discovering new products that they may have never discovered before. And then the brands love us because we're just making that connection, right? We're putting them in front of those publishers for consideration. So it's a really great fit.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, James. I've definitely learned a lot. This is definitely a hot area. I definitely recommend and encourage all of our listeners to look more into this, to see how they can be a part of this, and to see how they can link up with, publishers like yourself, or really any publishers that have this capability where they're able to, post editorial recommendations on these huge marketplaces. So really good stuff. But yeah, I always like to switch gears here with my last and final question, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact that you think our listeners and viewers would be interested in knowing about yourself.
Well, maybe something odd and different. I've bowled a perfect game. How about that?
Okay. Wow. You bowled a perfect game. That's tough to do. Was this recent?
No, it was
Okay.
was it 1997? So it was a
Okay,
while
wow.
ago.
Okay, so I guess for people that aren't that familiar with bowling, so perfect game meaning that you got all strikes, basically. Is that correct? Is
Yeah,
that a perfect
yeah,
game? Okay.
yeah. 12 in a row. I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life. That was the most nervous I'd ever been on that last shot.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I could imagine. Wow. Well, yeah, that's impressive. I know that's definitely one for the books. I've bowled a little bit in my past, but I can't say I've come anywhere near a perfect game. I've had, maybe in my top, maybe I had like 3 or 4 strikes, but that's probably about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And, lastly, before we let you go, if any of our listeners or viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about how all of this works, the ecom PR and their editorial recommendations, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, totally. Go to SellerRocket.io, or you can reach me direct, James at SellerRocket.io. Just mention the podcast here. We're happy to extend enterprise rates, which are a lot more favorable than regular rates. So I encourage you to do that. Get in touch, whatever it is you'd like to talk about. I'd be happy to hear from everyone.
All right, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that offer and extending that, those enterprise rates to all of our listeners and viewers. We definitely appreciate that here. And it was awesome talking to you, James. And thank you for joining us today on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.